my name is Valerie Campbell. I was the key set costumer for Gilmore Girls and the costume supervisor for A Year in the Life. And welcome to Fandom Family Chats.
Hi guys, welcome back to FFC. I'm Maureen.
I'm Josh.
I'm Amanda.
And today we have our very, very special guests. She was the key set costumer for Gilmore Girls and also the costume supervisor for Gilmore Girls A Year in the Life. We have Valerie Campbell with us here today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Well, I actually found you on TikTok. That was how I was able to connect with you. That was fun. I love watching your lives and I love watching what you do on there. It's just you. And we were talking before the show started that you talk kind of like a Gilmore. You talk very fast, and
I've gotten into that pattern. Well, TikTok kind of inspires you to go fast because if you don't go fast, you lose everyone's attention.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they'll just swipe over you, and I don't want to be swiped over.
That's a good point. Right. So I want to talk a little bit about your role, because in my ignorance, I had seen costumer on the IMDb's page, and I didn't realize how many different components there were to that. So what is a key set costumer? What does that entail?
Yeah, let me explain the department. First, you have the costume designer, and we had several in Gilmore Girls. There was the lady that did the pilot. I don't know her name. There was another girl named Carolyn Marks who started the first season, but then didn't last. And they brought in Robin West. And Robin West did the first 2.5 seasons. And then Brenda started with season 4, but Brenda was there from the beginning. Brenda Maven was our costume supervisor from day one. I don't think she did the portion in Canada because different locals and unions and stuff. But when they brought the show to Warner Brothers, Brenda was a part of it from the very, very, very beginning. And then she took over. She'd been basically as a costume supervisor back in the day. She was kind of one of those people that was responsible for a lot of the looks for some of the characters, but mainly the costume designer is the one that manages the look of the show. Costume supervisor handles the budget, makes sure the crew gets hired, hires the different vendors, and also is responsible for continuity in the broader sense of breaking down scripts. And as the key set costumer, I was Brenda's right-hand man. And so I would go through the breakdowns, make sure that they matched up. We would both read the scripts. And we would have a little meeting before each episode, and we'd go, okay, in this scene, they're going to go and change 2. And then she'd go, no, it's changed 3. And I was like, okay, why? And we'd have a little argument about it. We would fight all the time. And we would both, and she would always say, you need to learn how to defend your art. Like, so if you believe something to be true, you have to come there with like constructive reasons why in this scene they're going to change. And I'd be like, okay, well, this line says something, which means it's a Saturday or it's a Friday night dinner. So, that means that they should change or whatever. And we would both kind of go back and forth, and she would catch stuff that I didn't catch. I'd catch stuff, and we would create the breakdowns, and I would be the one that was on set. So myself and I had a set partner named Sesha. We would both be on set. Sesha took care of Lauren. Sesha actually started the second season. So the first season I took care of Lauren and Alexis. And from that point forward, after when Sesha came on, Sesha just took care of Lauren. For years, Sesha took care of Lauren. And then as other actors became more of handfuls and wanted a little bit more attention, we would give Sesha them to take care of. So she also took care of Scott for a little bit and Melissa for a little bit, just because they needed a little bit more attention. And I was dealing with like 15 characters on set at one time. And I could do it. It's not a big deal, but she would help me, but she only, like, really her main responsibility was Lauren and making sure Lauren did her thing and got to set and had clothes on her body. And that was the main thing. She didn't design the clothes either. She just basically helped Lauren get those clothes on her body and get to set so that they could shoot.
Okay.
And manage the continuity. So basically, when an actor goes to set, they rehearse the scene. We watch the rehearsals. And during the rehearsal, we might see that something's going to happen to the clothes, like, oh, they need to take a jacket off, or they need to grab their purse, or they need to put a scarf on, or they need to remove the gloves, or they need to have. So we would track when they needed to have certain things And we'd communicate to the actors like, hey, in this scene, you're going to have your gloves on. So you're going to need to grab them as you're exiting the door so you can make sure you have them on when you're in the car, or whatever they needed to do. And we'd communicate that with them. We'd keep track. We'd write down every single article of clothing, how it was being worn. For example, like you have your earrings on in your ears, and I would make a note like, okay, you've got that one on this and this, and then in the next scene you're going to change to another thing because it's a different day. We'd keep track of all those little tiny details and help them when they were on set. That's the main thing.
It's awesome.
Like when we did Festival of Living Arts, that scene, I had a photograph of every single portrait and the body positions. And in order for the clothing to look right, because it was painted, we had to make sure that the actors were in the correct body position. So I would literally be like, okay, no, Sean, move your arm a little bit this way, do this. Alexis, I'd be like, okay, we need to put her finger exactly in this position because the necklace that was on her portrait matched up to where her finger was. So when they put her finger in that position, the makeup artist actually then painted on the art for the necklace on her fingertip, because she wasn't actually in the painting. She didn't actually have a necklace on. It was all painted. There was two different dresses she was wearing. She wore a dress that looked like a dress made of silk. And then when we actually shot the scene from front on, it was made of muslin, and it was sewn and painted to look like the other dress, to look like the portrait, so it would catch the shadows exactly how the shadows were in the portrait.
Wow.
It was flawless too, because I would never have caught that until I saw that, I think, on your TikTok, and I was like, what in the world? I didn't go back and watch the whole scene again, but it kind of makes me want to go see it. But it was you don't catch that at all.
It is not meant to be. It's meant, the thing is, that dress in its state for the pageant of the masters, but for the Festival of Living Arts scene, it's very stiff. Like she wouldn't be able to walk around town and do stuff in it. It's very stiff. It's very awkward. There wasn't really a spot for her to change in the script. And I think that they really just wanted to see the characters in the clothing as often as they could. What was really interesting was Sean Gunn had several different Christ-like outfits throughout the episode. Like you saw him in the purple one, but like he didn't wear that for Pageant of the Masters, for the festival. He wore something else, so it was really, that was one of my favorite episodes. Like there was a few, I think they're all the same ones that you guys love, which is You Jump, I Jump Back. I loved the white party, the whole, they called it out of Africa scene where everybody was dressed in the white.
Oh yeah.
I loved that scene the most. Not that I didn't like the ball gowns and the tuxedos, but that scene was so it was magical. Like we shot that one first in the order of shooting, and the night we shot that, we were up in Griffith Park shooting above the Greek Theater, and the night we shot it, I want to say it was either probably a Thursday night, maybe Thursday or Friday night, because I think we shot 2 days there, and there was a Santana concert going on.
Oh, fun.
And so we could hear the concert, and we had to wait for the Santana concert to end before we could start shooting, because it was so loud. And
Wow.
And so they would shoot whatever they could shoot, but it was forever. And I remember the boys, the Life and Death Brigade boys, were hanging out. This was probably a little bit later in the evening, and they were just chilling as the lighting process was going on. And someone had a guitar, and they were all just sitting around, and like, I can't remember if it was like Zuckery or Tank or Alan or Nick Holmes. They were just playing the guitar and singing and just like, hanging out. And it was just like, really chill. I mean, nowadays you wouldn't have that. People just be playing on their phone and kind of not tuning out and not interacting with each other. I feel like back then people would interact more and hang out, and like truly, it was a big, huge family. Like we got to know each other really, really well.
Has that aspect made your job a little harder, or maybe a little less fun, going from before the technology boom to now everyone's on their phone?
It's different. I mean, I still interact with people. And it's crazy now with the pandemic and the whole, like, we have to wear masks on set. What's interesting is I wear a mask and I have ice cream cones all over my mask. And I've drawn them on because I wrote a little ice cream cookbook and it's all illustrated. And so people will come up to me and they'll be like, I like your mask. And I'm like, oh, you do? I go, do you like ice cream? They're like, I love ice cream. Who doesn't love ice cream? And I'm like, oh, it's my art. I made a little cookbook. And I go, do you want to see it? And they're like, yeah. And so I show it to them and they're like, whoa, this is cool. Like, how do I get one of these? And I'm like, you can buy that one. And so they usually end up buying that one and I'll sign it for them. But what's interesting is that book is all because of Gilmore Girls. So I started going to the Fan Fest, and they knew I made ice cream. And let's go back in time. The only reason I went to Fan Fest, the only reason you guys see me on TikTok is because I started making ice cream years and years ago. We'd have parties. Yep. And I started inviting the actors to the parties. So like we'd have parties. I used to make ice cream, and the first person that RSVP'd to the parties got to pick whatever flavor I was going to make.
Oh.
And so it became kind of a competition for people to pick the flavor. And I wouldn't just make one flavor, I'd make like 10, 12. You gotta like ice cream. And so Liz at one of the parties she takes a bite of chocolate chipotle ice cream that I had made. And the only reason I made that was because our food stylist on Gilmore Girls, her name is April Falzone, she's the one that did every element of food on that show, had given me a bite of chipotle jam that she had made. But so I decided one time to put it in chocolate ice cream.
Ooh.
And Liz took a bite and she starts singing, like belting out in the middle of the party, por tu amor, que tanto, like whatever it was this Mexican mariachi song.
I love it.
Belting it out. Everyone at the party was like, what's going on over there? Like, and it was just so much fun, like the little parties. But so I'm making the ice cream, I do the whole thing, and I got invited to the festival because every time an actor would get interviewed for some kind of thing, they're like, you really should ask Valerie. I don't remember any of this stuff. And so when the Fan Fest happened, there was actually a book. Have you seen the Gilmore Girls companion book?
Is
Terrence.
Aaron Berman. It was a few years ago. No, yeah, it was way before. It was during the original, right after the original run had ended.
Oh,
so he actually, I'm trying to remember, I think it was Keiko and probably John Cabrera, or maybe a few others, had gotten interviewed by him. And they were like, we don't know, ask Valerie. So they gave him my information. And so I ended up helping him. He interviewed me. I helped him get a bunch more actors for the show because they had all come to my potlucks because of the ice cream.
mm-hmm.
And then I went to the Fan Fest, and Jenny, who runs the Fan Fest, after the second year, she was like, you really need to write a book. And I was like, she'd asked me the year before. And I was like, oh, that's a lot to ask. Like, I just want to go to the festivals. I have fun. I get to see my friends. It's a trip to New York. I get to hang out in Connecticut. And so we ended up like, the next time I saw her, she convinced me. She's like, just please write down your stories. You can write down your recipes. People will love it. Like, you'll like it. And I started to write it. And instead of it coming out like, take 2 cups of milk and bring it with 2 cups of cream, I ended up drawing little images and illustrating the whole thing. So it's all illustrated and visual. And then the stories that came out of me became handwritten stories. And the reason that happened was because when we were on Gilmore Girls, one of our first AD was getting married to a chef. And so I coordinated with all the actors, every single crew member on the show, The only people that didn't contribute was Amy and Dan. And everybody put a little recipe in a book, and we hand wrote it, or they hand wrote it, and I bound it in leather. And so it sort of modeled after that, except it turned into a little bit more, it turned into art, more art than the original book was.
Some of my favorite TikToks of yours to watch are when you're, it's not your face, but it's you drawing in your cookbook. And voiceover. Those are my favorite ones to watch, because it's just, you can see the creative process pouring out of you, but it's just, I don't know, you have so much to say, and it's what you have to say is really interesting.
I try to answer everyone's questions, because I feel like there's never an end to the information that I have, what you guys want to know, and just having fun with it. Like, I don't know, I enjoy the TikTok process. I enjoy the lives and having people hang out, and I love when people pop into a room and they're like, Gilmore, and then they're like, oh wait, tell me about this. They just stop seeing me as this person that worked on Gilmore Girls, and they start seeing me as a friend and a person to just hang out with, like, which is the best part.
That's awesome.
Of the TikTok experience.
I think that's something really unique about you, for sure, but also about some of the Gilmore actors, is that the interaction with fans. And the two things that I was thinking of was TikTok and FanFest.
Yeah.
Where you guys, we have someone on our crew, in our Gilmore, she's a moderator in our Gilmore group, her name's Cindy, and she goes to the FanFest every year. And she keeps
Cindy Funderbank?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. Yep. And
I know all the fans.
She's regularly showing us pictures of her just hanging out with you guys.
You guys have to go. It's really fun. It's really fun, and you never know. Like, I always say, I never know if this is going to be the last one. I always treat it as if it is, because anything can happen. You know, the festival organizers have had to deal with a lot to do it, and it's just such a fun. It's about the fans. It's not about what actors go. It's about the fans and the interaction, and being able to like walk down the street, and like, you know, you walk down the street and you see someone dressed like Lorelai, and you see someone dressed like Suki, and you see with someone like Jackson and Luke, and like, and sometimes there's a Miss Patty, and then they'll have the costume competitions, which are really my favorite. And one of my friends, and I'm not saying they won because they're my friend, because they're not. I let the audience, when we're doing it, I let the audience help us make the decision, because it's so hard. She dressed up like Lorelai's hammer.
I was just gonna bring that up.
Like, what amazing thing. She couldn't walk. She had to have her husband help her onto stage, and he's dressed like Luke.
Dedication.
Yeah, I'm gonna go as an anvil now. So.
Oh, that's a good one. You never know. You never know. It is a hard competition to win, though, because there is such creativity. Somebody was dressed up like Hug a World last year. One of the first years. I didn't see it because I didn't judge the costume the first couple of years, but someone dressed up like Lorelai's Jeep with the deer.
Oh
no. What else? They dressed up. It is so much fun. It is a blast. And you sort of, at a certain point in time, you get there, and if you're a fan, you get there and you're so excited because you see this person and that person, you know, and then all of a sudden you kind of forget that they're actors, and they're just regular people.
That's the best.
Which they are. They are just regular people, and they're really fun, and they love to interact. And people are always like, why isn't so-and-so coming? And it's like, well, let's not focus on the people that don't want to come. Let's focus on the people that do want to be there. The ones that enjoy the interacting, and they definitely, and they're some of my closest friends to this day. We all occasionally will get together. Like, we got together recently. Shelley Cole, who played Madeline, came into town, and we all got together at Liz's and had a little potluck. And luckily I was able to come, and it was so much fun.
Awesome.
We got the pleasure of interviewing her a while back, and she was
Shelley.
delightful. Yep.
She's such a doll.
Her and Rini and John are three Gilmore actors that we've interviewed, and they all they're just normal.
They are very, very normal and enjoyable people to hang out with. That's for sure.
So what drew you into this particular line of work?
So when I was in high school, I was in drama, and my drama teacher's husband was a stage manager for like Arsenio Hall,
Nice.
Star Search. He did later in life. because I grew up in the like I graduated high school in the 90s. Later in life, he worked on American Idol, and he did probably like all the Academy Awards and that kind of live television and sitcoms. But he was our mentor. We'd go see live productions, sitcoms, and we got to be extras in Top of the Pops and be like feet away from Sting. And we got to work on a telethon where we just we answered phones, but it was all fake. We had to pretend like we were answering phones. Phones are fake. All fake. I mean, I'm sure there's someone answering a phone, but it's all fake. It was the Lou Rawls telethon of stars. So he basically opened that world to us, and a few of us actually. Do you see that movie Gray Man?
No, I've heard it was good though.
The producer of Gray Man, I went to high school with him, and he was mentored by the same group of people, my drama teacher and her husband. One of the makeup artists from American Horror Story, and I went to high school together at the same time. Another friend of mine has been on Broadway. Like, so a lot of people have been inspired by these two, and they basically just said, yeah, you can do it. And he said to me the most important thing, like, you don't want to be in front of the camera. He says, go behind the scenes. You'll always work. If you go behind the scenes, you'll always work. And he said, you don't have to go to college, just get in there, meet people, keep in touch with people. And, if you haven't heard from someone in a few months, call them, say, hey, how are you doing? And never be like, hey, I'm looking for work. No, be like, hey, I'm having a party. Why don't you come to my party? Which is why I started having
I'm making ice cream.
That's
exactly. Awesome. So the whole reason I'm here right now is because he said, keep in touch with everyone. And that's what happens. But I wanted to be a stage manager, and I was going to do an internship at a theater downtown, and I got a traffic ticket. And at the time I didn't have insurance for my car, because I was literally just graduated high school and I didn't have any, like, I was still living at my mom's house. And I had to earn money. And so I contacted the theater and I said, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna be able to do this internship. I need to earn some money. And they said, why don't you work downstairs selling phone subscriptions for the theater? So I go downstairs. I worked there. I think on my very first night, I met this girl. Her name was Cheryl, and her cousin was a costume designer. And I said to her, I said, please tell your cousin that I would love to intern for her. And so she called me up one day, and she was working on a TV show that none of you will have ever heard of, because it was only on one network back in the 90s. It was called Shades of LA. So I interned on that. And then right after, I met someone. I wrote a letter to another costume designer, and I got on a movie called Blood In, Blood Out. And I interned on that, which you probably have heard of. And from there, I just kept working and working and working. And eventually, after 10 years after 5 years, I got in the film, in the union, and I started working on Party of Five, the original.
Yep.
And then right after Party of Five, I did a few things, and then I started working on Gilmore Girls. And but right before Gilmore Girls, I worked on Coyote Ugly. And I'm trying to think, I did Gilmore Girls for so long that I kind of got out of the loop with other people. And then right after, I worked on Ugly Betty. And then I went and did a movie down in Mexico called Dragon Ball. And then I worked on Without a Trace. And then the next year I worked on Criminal Minds. And then ever since then, I started hopping around, and I worked on Jersey Boys and Stars Born, a couple of days on American Sniper here. Well, no, I worked a little bit on American Sniper, and I worked a couple weeks on Sully. I bounce around. I'm not working as intensely as I worked when I worked on Gilmore Girls, because I don't have to anymore. I'm just, I work where I want to work, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun to do it that way.
I was checking out your IMDb profile, and you've been on a lot of things that I love.
I've been on a lot, and there's also a lot that I don't list on my IMDb because I only worked like a day here or there. Like I just worked on Good Trouble, and but that won't be on my IMDb because I worked, I'll work like 2 or 3 days a week, and it's not fair to take the credit for a show when you're not on it full time.
Yeah.
And then I've been bouncing around between, there's a new show called Rookie Feds, which is a spinoff of Rookie. And then I'm working also on this other show called With Love, and it stars the kid from Ugly Betty, and it was so nice to see
like a reunion.
And
that's awesome.
It's fun. Like speaking of reunions, I got the chance to work with Rose Abdu, and I think she was on, trying to remember if she was on Criminal Minds or Without a Trace. She was on one of them, and I was working the day that she was there.
Oh, cool.
I'm trying to think who else I've gotten a chance. Oh, on Good Trouble, you guys may or may not know the connection, but the guy, have you guys watched that show?
We actually, one of our admins runs a Good Trouble group. I haven't personally seen it though.
I haven't seen it.
So,
I've seen a lot of the Fosters, but not very much of Good Trouble.
So Good Trouble, there's I'm trying to remember the character's name, but she plays the comedian. She's Asian, and her parents are my brain is like blanking on me right now.
Okay.
Her dad on the show is Robert Lee, who you guys may or may not know who Robert Lee is, but you do know who Robert Lee is. Robert Lee was, I always call him the original Caesar, but he was our background guy that was always in Luke's Diner.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And before there was a Caesar that was really a Caesar, they would always kind of refer to him as Caesar. Like, and it was sort of unintentional. Like for the longest time, we always just thought he was Caesar. And then all of a sudden they cast a Caesar, and we're like, oh, not Caesar anymore. And it was funny because he's Asian, not really a seizure. Can't even say the word anymore. But yeah, so you know who he is. And I got to work with him recently, and I was like, oh my God, Robert Lee. For a very fun, a very, very, very fun thing to do if you guys get a chance is on YouTube. It's called, for Robert Lee, if you look at it, there's a commercial he did, and it's called Self-Help Yourself. And I'm trying to remember who it was for. It wasn't Geico, but it was something like that. If I can find it, I'll show it to you.
Yes.
But he plays all the parts.
Oh, wow.
He goes through basically a day of life in different positions. So he plays like a firefighter. He plays like a person sleeping. Then he plays someone pregnant, and then he plays someone who's like all different like walks of life, different skin tones, different everything, and he plays every single character, and it's like hysterical.
Oh my God.
My favorite thing to watch or to show any Gilmore fan that, because you know who Robert Lee is, even though you don't really know who he is. I
wrote that down. I'm going to look it up as soon as it's over.
I read that too.
Well, another question I had is, because you bet on so many things I love. One of the things I love mostly because of the sets and the clothes is Mad Men. And I saw you worked a couple days on that.
Yeah, I worked on 2 seasons on that, but it was like I worked half the season, I think season 4, and then part of the season 5. So it was almost like the equivalent of a full season. And that was an incredible show to work on. I didn't work every single day, but I worked a good portion of that. We would dress, I dressed the background the first season I worked over there. And what that means is it's not my decision. It's always goes to the costume designer. But basically we would have fittings with the background. They'd come in, we'd find outfits. We'd have racks of clothes, like, okay, it's going to be a high-end dinner party, or it's going to be, I remember doing, there was a Hare Krishna thing that we did. And we had to match people exactly to the video that was real footage.
Oh, wow.
And so we would have all these different outfits. The designer would set the tone. She would give us some notes. We'd go dress the background. We'd take 3 photos of every single background. that we fit, and she would pick through the photos going like, I want this outfit, and then sometimes she'd be like, I want this outfit, but I want it on this person right here. And so we'd have to switch it last minute. We would go to set, they would have we dressed them down to their underwear, like Mad Men's not really corsets, but they had like specific, very pointy bras and pointy shoes, and every single element of what they were wearing, we had to make sure fit on their body. And then clothes like that are not in great shape. So they're falling apart as they're wearing them because they're cold. Maybe they're a little bit bigger than what the clothes were, because women back then were heavily cinched in. And so we would have to really make sure these things fit within, inches or moment, like just a little bit of space.
See, like that's cool, because like I would have thought they would just recreated,
that's
the
what I thought it
costumes
was.
or something like that.
No. A lot of the clothing from Mad Men, that main actors, they're sewing them, they're creating things from scratch. But there are times where some of the clothes is actually authentic period clothes. She would find things. Janie Bryant was the costume designer on that, and she would find things and have them duplicated. Or she would a lot of times they would be wearing authentic clothes. It just depended on whether or not the piece of clothing was in great shape. But when you do a TV show, stuff is fast. You don't have enough time, especially if they don't cast with enough time to be able to create a garment from nothing. Your main cast will definitely have stuff made for them, but not every single piece.
That's so cool.
That's awesome.
Do you have like a favorite time period that you like to work within, or that you go on set and you see this time period, you're like, yes, I love this?
I worked on Timeless too.
Oh,
so we were dealing with every week we're on a different time period. I don't care. I like to have a purpose when I'm on set. My nickname is MacGyver. Well, actually, my Melissa would call me MacGyver. And then a few years later, I worked with these other costumers, and they nicknamed me Valguyver.
Valguyver, I love it.
I'll start tagging you that on social media.
Can't we?
And so I would always be like fixing, if something was broken, I would fix it. If someone needed to be sewed into a costume, I would do it. Like whatever, that's the job as the set costumer, is managing issues and problems and making them not become a problem for anyone other than yourself, and you're very intimate with the actors. My favorite question people ask are, do you get to meet the actors? And I'm like, yeah,
Up close and personally.
I am literally like in places where I should not be. I have seen things that, and we always avert our eyes. We're not. But no, very, very close, very, very hands-on.
That's awesome. So, in Gilmore Girls, of course, obviously that's actually kind of funny. Was there any? And it doesn't, like crazy or like the funniest thing that ever happened on set? It doesn't have necessarily with costumes, but just something that you were involved with or aware of.
Easiest, funniest thing. There's just so many things, but I'm trying to think of what comes into mind. Okay, well, this is just something more recent. If you've seen my TikTok lately, Sally Struthers grabbed me one day and hoisted me on her shoulders and spun me around. And when the incident happened, I sort of blocked it out of my mind. Like I didn't remember it for years and years. And someone showed me a picture of it happening. And I was like, what? That happened? And then like I remembered like the incident, but there was just always a lot of fun. Like we worked really, really long hours. And this isn't really like an actor thing, but the crew members, because there was a very limited amount of food on set, they didn't have much money when we were shooting. They didn't spend a lot of money on food. So when food came, it was very limited. We didn't get catering at lunch. So people would wait until there was food at craft service and eat the food at craft service. And so a few of us, me included, and this other guy named named Mark Sasabucci. We would bring food from set, from home, and we bring it to set and we put it on the craft service little paper plates. And then we'd walk onto set and there would be like a steak or something like really, really good looking food. And other people would go like, is that a craft service? And we'd go, yeah. Like we wouldn't answer the question. And then people would run to craft service, they get to craft service and there'd be nothing. But it really was Mark Sasabucci would do that all the time. And he was one of our camera guys. And do you remember that scene with the Foreman grills with Kirk?
Oh, yes.
Oh, God.
Yes.
So I had gotten a rice cooker that could bake cakes, and I put it on our trailer so I would bring food and we would cook it in the trailer. And after the Kirk's Diner, props had all these Foreman grills, and I said to him, like, hey, can I put one of those in my trailer? And they're like, sure, yeah, whatever, as long as we get it back at the end of the season. So we had a potluck and someone had brought steak and fish and all this food. And it was like the very next day I was like, we didn't get to eat it. And I was like, I have to go to work. So I brought that to work and I put it, and it was like raw. And I like cooked an entire meal in the back of the trailer and then would bring it over to set. And then when it was someone's birthday, we would make a cake in the rice cooker. And there was a period of time that every day we would bring eggs to work and we'd make omelets in the rice cooker with the chipotle jam. And I remember Lauren getting me like a dozen eggs one day and like a little can of mushrooms and going like, can we have mushroom omelets?
Oh.
I totally like would cook food in the trailer. And then one time Brenda, I don't know how this happened, but Brenda had said something about waffles. We were having an argument about waffles and like who made the best waffles. And Brenda was like, it's Bisquick. And I'm like, no, it's from scratch. So we had a wardrobe waffle day.
Yes.
We made waffles. We both brought our own KitchenAids onto the trailer and waffle irons. And we made waffles for the entire crew.
That's awesome.
And I made like gingerbread waffles from scratch, and she made her Bisquick waffles, and everybody got to eat waffles. And then the next time we did it, they were talking about cupcakes. And so they're like, oh, we're going to make cupcakes. So they made cupcakes and they decorated them, and there was like costume cupcakes at the back of the trailer, like people could have.
Well, I'm dying to know who won the waffle challenge.
I think I did, but
Yeah.
I'm sure Brenda would say that.
Yeah.
I think this is a draw, but personally, I mean, gingerbread waffle, like where are you?
Yeah,
getting
that's
waffle? Like, come on.
that's a win in my book.
From a recipe from 1940s. It's kind of like that TikTok guy, the one that makes all the old recipes.
Dylan?
I love
Yeah.
him.
I love that.
I'm not as animated as him, although I can be a little bit.
You guys have to do a collab now. Do the
There you go.
wall.
I've never met him. I don't know. You guys tag. He probably is like, who is this little?
So you didn't
Maybe he
keep
likes
you didn't keep the Foreman grill, George Foreman grill.
I didn't get to keep the Foreman grill, but I did keep. Do you guys know what I kept, right, from the show?
No, I was about to.
I'll show it to you. Okay.
Yes.
Yes, please.
It is electronic. Let's see if it's going to turn on.
Oh yes! Oh my gosh, this is so cool.
But that's what I have. And
I can hear the
I
argument
always
as you
forget how
play it.
the volume goes. Okay, there it is.
Pull it.
Yes.
Pull it.
Oh, I messed up.
You ever just like take that to Fan Fest and
I
have
just
a bobber
remember
party?
they were playing it on set and I'd never seen one before. And I was like, that's the coolest thing. I want one.
I love
And
it.
at the end of the season, I guess I kept bugging props because at the end of the season, they just went, oh, do you want this? Like, I remember you wanted it. And I was like, "What else do you get?" So that's what I ended up with. And at the time, like, nobody's thinking, oh, this is going to be something that needs, I'm sure that if they had had it, it would have gone in the trash or
Yeah.
it would have gone
Mhm.
to somewhere and just nobody would have even
Yeah.
you know.
What's gonna happen is this year at FanFest, someone's gonna come dressed up like Poppet.
Ooh, that would be cool.
There you go.
I can
There you
hear
go.
the argument
It
between
might,
Luke and Dean
it
in my
might
head.
have to be like, it might have to be 3 people or 4 people.
Like the horses.
And all come together. Oh, that would be so cool.
It could just be like a person doing this. Yeah, that would work with one person.
I love that. That is I think that's a perfect takeaway though. That's so cool. It's like you I don't know if you heard, but it's like, it's funny. It's like, oh look, I feel like you just picked up the Holy Grail, but like, hey look, this is what I took.
Love it.
I
It's
love it.
funny. I also have a patch. I have a Chilton patch.
Ooh.
And it's funny. There was this TikToker, LA in a Minute. I don't know if you guys know him, but I did a TikTok where he was talking about one of the locations that we shot for Gilmore Girls, which is the Greystone Manor or Greystone,
Oh yeah.
whatever it's called, mansion. And I was like, oh wait, I have a blue dress, a jacket, and I have a white shirt, and I can make a fake tie. And then I put the patch on. Oh, I put the patch on, and I dressed up like Paris always dressed up with the thing. And I was like, wow, I don't usually cosplay though, so that was more.
I love it. Do you have like the greatest memory or something like that you've, something that's, I mean, obviously we know getting picked up by
Well, that wasn't even a memory. I don't even I didn't remember it. Just, there's so many. It's not like that there's one that's better than the other. It's just like, I don't know, you tell me a episode and I'll tell you a moment that I remember, because that's a little bit easier for me to do because there's so many that spin through my mind.
You already mentioned my favorite episode, so I know
Which one?
The You Jump, I Jump, Jack.
Okay, so from You Jump, I Jump, Jack, there was the photograph that was of them jumping.
Oh yeah.
That's in the camera was my photograph.
Oh.
Ooh.
Yeah, because
Wow.
I remember what happened was everybody who had a digital camera was basically on the ground and we were all snapping pictures. And I remember getting a really good shot of it and, letting props take it and put it on their camera. What about you? What's your favorite Amanda episode?
Oh no.
Skip to Josh while you think.
Let me
You know,
think.
this
Ooh.
is not necessarily my favorite episode, but I was talking to a friend of mine the other day. I didn't even know he was a Gilmore Girls fan. And we're sitting there talking with him. I was talking with him and his wife. And he goes, I found out he's a Paris fan. I'm a huge Paris fan also. And I found out he was too. And he goes, I think the best part of the whole series is when Paris is up there and she's crying because she's not going to Harvard. And she's like going on about, but I'm not going.
Head sack, she's not going to Harvard.
It was one of the funniest moments. I know it's a weird moment, but I just thought it was just hilarious because like I said, we're huge Paris fans, that kind of thing. But it was a
Okay,
good
Liza, okay, this isn't like a memory of Liza. I mean, it was a memory of Liza, but there was a day Alexis was sick. I can't remember what we were shooting. I just remember Alexis was sick. And so they had to kind of shift the schedule. So they took all of Liza's scenes and they put them in one day. And it was a full day. It wasn't like, oh, we were shooting, half the day or something. And we ended up shooting in 10 hours.
Holy cow.
Ooh.
Oh wow!
For our show, we would shoot 14 hours, 15, sometimes 19 hours in a day. And that day we got done in 10 hours and they had nothing else they could shoot. So they sent us all home. But it was because Liza was such a professional that every time she came to set, she was completely prepared for everything she was doing. She knew exactly what she was doing from start to finish. I mean, she had only so many scenes. It's not like she was in every scene like Lauren or Alexis.
Mhm.
But when she came, she was the most prepared, the most professional. She knew exactly what she was doing. And I have just mad respect for her. And one of the favorites to be on, so you're like, oh, it's a Paris day. That's great. We're in good shape. But yeah, so it's hard. There's so many memories. And I know that I've shared a lot on TikTok and a lot when I've appeared in places, and I try to mix it up and do something different because you never know like what's gonna, by watching the episodes, I've been sparking a lot of
Yeah.
memories
Yeah.
things I hadn't thought about. But I've been drawing, I don't know if you guys have seen, I've been drawing the little moments.
Mhm.
Everybody
Yes.
votes on a moment that we're gonna draw, or I'm gonna draw. And so that's been fun, is just how many special moments were in the show. Like
Mhm.
it seems like there's always something to draw. And that's like, oh wow, that's a really fun scene, or that scene. What's your favorite scenes?
Oh boy.
Favorite scene?
Yeah, or moment. Like if I were to like, so I've been drawing on people's books.
Mhm.
If they buy like a special book, I'll draw on their book. And so people have been picking like the moment that they love the best from the show. And
I think my favorite moment from the show would be when Luke and Lorelai finally kissed for the first time.
Yeah, I was thinking the
Because
same.
it felt like it took
when
forever.
is that? Because we haven't gotten to it yet.
That's the end of season 4.
Yep.
Oh,
Final
okay. So
episode.
is it the Liz episode? Is it the wedding? No, that's the dance, right?
No, it's the season 4 finale when Rory sleeping with Dean while Lorelai is kissing Luke.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The sex
And
dress. What I was
Kirk is
Yeah.
running, right?
That's what I was gonna. Is it your favorite because they're kissing, or because Kirk is running down naked with just a pillow down the stairs?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That
No,
entire scene is just
Magical.
there's so
It's
much
great.
going on in that. I mean, but like every episode, I'm like, oh my God, there's so much going on. And like, they're really, I don't know if there's a very boring, is there one episode you're like, that's boring, I could never.
Oh
do
no.
Oh, even with
It-
characters I don't like it's never. I've never had that thought ever.
I don't think
Yeah.
so.
There's not an episode where we skip over. And honestly, when we first started watching, we watched all the way through, and when we finished, we started all over again. You know, I've probably collectively seen every episode in one way or another, probably half a dozen or close to 10 times. You know, they've been on.
I watched it live because I started watching it in 2001 when it premiered, and so I watched it all the way through on its regular syndication. I watch it through about once a year.
I mean,
Mhm.
I actually watched it live.
Yes, you did. You watched
Live,
it way
live.
more live than I did.
In real time.
Sometimes we would shoot like 36 take, well, not often, but there was an occasional time where I think the most takes we ever did of a scene was a walk and talk in the middle of Stars Hollow, and it was like 36 takes.
Holy cow.
And it was insane how many times we would see them do a specific action over and over and over and over. It's funny, a lot of times people go like, why are they never eating? They're eating, but they're never eating. Like, you never see them put the food in their mouth or swallow it.
They would be so sick.
I know
They
this
would
answer.
be. We did so many takes.
Yeah.
And I think I want to say that, is there a scene where Dean is eating pizza before episode 10
I think so.
inside? Okay, so I started episode 11, and I remember hearing a story about them eating pizza, and they were like really into eating the pizza, and then it just got like, they just got so sick from it, they were like, never again. Tiniest bites, so we don't have to like keep, because over and over and over you can't keep up, especially with trying to say the dialogue at the same time. It's just
Mhm.
impossible.
And the scripts for Gilmore were notoriously long, right?
They were 70-page scripts. I think that I'm getting that correctly. Somebody I'm sure probably has a few scripts out there that can confirm what it was, but normally a script would be like in the 30s. So it was twice as long as a normal script. And it's wild to go on to other shows. I go on to other shows and I'm like, wow, the scripts are so, although now we don't even touch scripts, it's all in our
True. Electronic.
It's all electronic. But speaking of scripts, a lot of times we wouldn't get the scripts right away, and we would be reading the outlines. And I remember, like, before we did the Jackson pajama, we only got the outline. We had no idea what the dialogue was going to be. The actors got the dialogue in the middle of the night in order to shoot that scene the next day. And when you would read a script for Gilmore Girls, one thing that struck me as very amazing was you could hear the way the words were supposed to be spoken.
Mm.
Dialogue was so good that it leapt off the page. You knew exactly how the writers wanted you to say those words, and you could hear the characters in the words. You can hear the characters speaking, and that was one amazing thing that Amy could do. Was I've read other scripts and I have no idea how they're supposed to be talking, and Amy's script, you knew exactly the way they were going to deliver those lines so perfectly. There was never a question of how it was going to sound. And that's one thing I loved about the show. And it was just such a joy to read them, because you were just like, what's going to happen next? Oh my God. Like, we're going to
Are you for more episodes? I know a lot of people are wanting more, but
not really. I mean, I think that personally, I think Amy did what she wanted to do. And I think she took the characters, and whether or not you like what happened to the characters or not, I think she took the characters where she wanted to. In an ideal world, what would be fun to see is what would season 7 had been, and 8. What would 7 and 8 have been, because she wanted to do a 7 and an 8.
Yep.
But we can't go back in time. We can't bring back Ed Herman to life. We can't bring any of those characters to their youth again. And so you're left with, what would the characters in 2015 have been? And I know a lot of people are like, but Rory, and it's like, you know what, though, 2008 did a lot to that generation and made it so that generation wasn't as successful as they should have been. And there were so many changes with like journalism itself. Like, think about it. What journalism is in the same place it was when Rory was in school? It was like such a different world for her to be in. I mean, I don't know anybody that's in journalism that still is, except for one friend who runs a newspaper in Orange County. But so to say that she would have succeeded in the same way that you had expected her to, I think is, I don't know. I think it's not as logical as you might think it is in your brain. I mean, sure, she shouldn't have been sleeping with, Logan and doing that, but how many people do you know are doing things that they shouldn't be doing?
Yeah.
It's hard to, and I think because she was so rigid in being so perfect throughout her childhood, that you do have that moment where you're like, okay, I don't have to be that expectation of myself. I don't know. What did you guys think of a year in the life?
I struggle with it. But the one reason I struggle with it is because it felt more musical oriented and it felt more fantastical than the original
that,
series.
though.
But that was my only. I do too. I love musicals too, but it wasn't what I was prepared to see, and I think I had in my head after all these years of what I wanted to see.
Yeah,
and it wasn't exactly what I wanted.
100%. I understand exactly where that mindset is, of you wanting to see something different and you living with. The thing is, you guys lived with those characters for this amount of time.
Yeah.
Crafting your own scenarios as to what is going to happen. Of course, there's nobody is going to fulfill that dream. There is no, and if you fulfill your dream, you're not going to fill this person or that person.
Yeah.
And so there's nobody's going to be happy. Plus, the fact is, we didn't have access to all those actors. We had those actors for minutes. We had Milo, I think, for like a couple days.
Yeah.
We had Melissa for one day. We weren't even supposed to have Melissa. We had her for one day, and we didn't even know we were going to have her till the end of the show.
Wow.
So it's like that whole storyline was changed because they didn't know they were going to get Melissa, and when it happened, it was all hush hush, and I actually knew it was going to happen before it happened, because I was doing the supervising. I was responsible for the budgets, and one of the producers had come to me and given me some new code for the budget. It was actually the accountant gave me this code for the budget, and I was like, what's this code you're giving me? Because like we label everything, like, so if the character is Lauren, it would be 101 or whatever. The coding would have a 1 in it or a 2 in it, and then all of a sudden it was this weird code that meant nothing, and I went, I wonder if that code is for Melissa. Like it's
Wow.
got to be through Melissa. And but it's wild that I think one of the reasons why another season of Gilmore Girls would not make anybody happy is because everybody has so much expectations on it.
Exactly. Mhm.
And unless you're allowed to give Amy the creativity to just create what comes naturally from her, and logically from where the characters have been left off at. And it can't just be, oh, she wakes up from a dream and she's back.
Oh no, that would be horrible.
Pop out.
Don't do that.
No, exactly.
I think
But
that a lot of, I think it's right, he hit the nail on the head where a lot of us have made these characters our possessions.
Oh
And
yeah.
so we
yeah.
expect to see, and we forget, oh wait, those are real people who have other jobs that they're committed to and probably can't get, we forget that because there's the characters are so real that we're like, oh no, this person,
Yeah.
that was one of the biggest complaints was Melissa McCarthy is no, Suki should be here. Well,
Right.
Well, I mean,
can't
come
get there,
on.
though.
You should
And I had a little bit.
yeah.
I'm sorry. I had a little bit of an advantage because I binged watched everything at first, so I didn't watch it, as it was airing,
Yeah.
and so we went straight at the end of that, went into A Year in the Life, and it was already available.
Did you
so-
enjoy it better that way?
I feel like maybe that helped a little bit because I didn't have that huge gap, because I was able to go directly into it. I will say this, it didn't, the old saying, you can't go back home again. And that's kind of what it felt like, but it was okay. It felt poetically, sound because it's like that era had kind of ended, now we're moving into this. And it gave us things like, Mr. Toad's Wild Adventure, you know what I mean? I think that was, definitely worth it. But yeah, it was different, but I think I'm okay with that,
I loved it from the aspect of just revisiting it and seeing it and getting to see all the actors again. And that part was just magical. And the justice they did to Ed, I felt that was so
Yeah.
touching.
Yeah.
And the character development for Emily and how she just kind of came full circle. And I've got to say, like, you see Emily was always so rigid throughout the seasons and never changing, and to have that drastic thing in her life happen and how that really just ripped apart her world. And what I loved about it was unexpected. You as the audience member would never have known that she was going to end up in that spot. And I think that and I don't know, it's like, if you want this perfect world, you're not going to get it because there is no perfect world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a part of all of my rewatches, and I notice the more I watch it, the more I like it. It's just I had to get out of my stubborn attitude of, oh, no, this is not where I wanted my people to go.
Oh, yeah, no, I really do think it's because you guys lived with these characters too long.
Yeah.
And fantasizing about the past instead of approaching it from the standpoint of Amy. Amy hadn't thought about the show, period.
Oh, really?
No, because she was one. How would you feel if you're on a show and you've been removed from the show? Wouldn't you have like
That's
some
true,
kind of animosity towards it, or
Oh,
just
yeah.
desire to not have something hurt you again? Like, I don't know. That's the way I would feel.
That makes sense.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So now you're then also, not only are you revisiting it after having that, but you're forced to confront what someone else did to the character. Maybe you had other plans for those characters.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And because season 7 happened, you couldn't do whatever those plans were.
Yeah.
Because something substantial happened, and you have to, like, it's like playing a game of improv, and you're on stage with someone who's going to tell you something else, and you have to agree because that's the rules of improv.
Yeah.
So that's the way I look at it. It's like, not only that, but also she had to kind of go with what was going on with the reality of the world and the state of the world that we were in 2015.
The world had changed.
Yeah.
You mentioned Logan a minute ago. What team are you on? Which one of
It's
You have
weird because
Three
I haven't
different teams here.
watched the show all the way through.
That's
Um,
right.
remember, like I've experienced it. I know, and for years and years, I'd be like, I'm not on anyone's team because I haven't gotten a chance to see what you've seen from the characters. And I know that I'm not Team Dean anymore because too many red flags.
Yep.
Not much I know. And I was never Team Tristan ever.
No.
Never ever. I was always Team Marty, but apparently I guess something happened to him later that I don't remember.
He gets crazy.
Yeah, and that I don't buy it because it didn't happen under Amy's watch.
Hey,
That's
there
right,
you
it
go.
didn't.
You're
It didn't
right.
happen under
I didn't
Amy's
think.
watch, so I guess I'm still Team Marty. Because I think, in the reality of the sense, if you could go back in time, the kind of person you want to end up with is one that's going to be your best friend and is not someone who's going to risk your life or put you down a road. And I mean, Jess is great. I thought Milo was great at the time that I've only experienced him in the series so far. He's still somewhat immature and makes bad choices, but I know that later he'll come in and be a little bit more on his feet. But I don't know, Marty was always just like, he was just the kind of guy that was like the guy that you wouldn't expect at that time in your age, in your life. You wouldn't be falling for him.
Yeah.
But you should be, because he's going to be a decent, stable person and he's going to have your back. Whereas Logan thinks that he just buy everything. But I love the Logan years. Don't get me wrong. They're fun, but I'm not, and he as a person was just a wonderful person too.
Oh, I can imagine.
They all were. All of her boyfriends were wonderful.
Did you have a favorite actor to work with or a least favorite actor to work with?
Oh, favorites, like they all were pretty dang great as far as like Ed, Alexis, Kelly, Lane, days on set, Mrs. Kim. I mean, there's not like a more favorite than the others. It was just depended on. Some are harder for me as trying to keep track of things, like they would lose things and you'd have to be a little bit more on top of them. But not really, like they were all pretty good. They're all fun.
Do you have, it's got to be bittersweet because when you came back to it, because Ed Herman was no longer there, do you have something that when you maybe returned to set where you just thought, oh, this is just so Ed, or something, some memory of him that really sticks out in your mind when you think about him?
Walking back into that house, was just like weird. One, because we're shooting it on a different stage. And so walking back in, physically, it almost looked alike. It
did,
as we know about the Gilmore house and the Lorelai's house, every season it was slightly different.
Yep.
Every season they added on or they made it a little bit better, and the house was bigger. I don't know if you can tell in the revival, but both of their houses were just different.
Yeah.
Like bigger. And you're like, this is weird. But the walking into that house and just seeing the set pieces and going like, I remember hanging out with Ed on that couch, or like hanging out with Kelly, and they'd be doing their puzzles and they would be, seeing him, and just the moments that we all shared in those spaces, just, it brings me back. Like he was such a cool guy. He was so fun. If you met him, I was talking the other day, I was on my TikTok, and I was signing someone's book, and they were mentioning how they used to work in a hotel, and they met, they were in Florida, and Ed and Mark Hamill were both in a movie together. They were hanging out at the hotel because that's the hotel she worked at. And she just remembers hanging out at the bar with them. And at the beginning, it was like, oh my God. And then by the end, it was like, oh yeah, it's just Mark and Ed, like they're the kind of, Ed was just the kind of person that would just, it didn't become about him and his movie star. It was about him being a person and you guys being a person and just getting to know.
Yeah.
I remember Ed asking me one day on set, he goes, my husband's a collector of things. He collects microphones and sound equipment and trains and all sorts of stuff. And Ed also is a collector. He would collect a lot of memorabilia, and he eventually started collecting trains because of my husband. His wife collected hood ornaments and different things. And one day he goes to me, he goes, Valerie, if you collected anything, what would you collect? And I said, probably pianos or, musical instruments or something. And he said, okay. He goes, tell Mr. Campbell, tell, my husband, that we're going to go on an adventure this weekend. And so he got reservations for this place called the Nethercut Museum, or the Nethercut Collection. It's in Sylmar. And are you guys, any of you from LA area or? Okay. So it's, there used to be a cosmetic company called Merle Norman, and the Nethercut Collection was the nephew who was the heir to the Merle Norman Cosmetic Company. He had a warehouse and he was a collector. He had a lot of money and he bought cars. Oh, that's the other thing. Ed was he restored cars and would always do Pebble Beach. And so they had all these vintage cars, and they had Nickelodeons, like the machines where you put a coin in and it would play like opera, or it would play like violins would be playing. It was like music would play. There's an organ, like it's either 5,000 piece or 2,000 pipe organ, something like that.
Wow.
They'd have player pianos, and they had hood ornaments, all these different things. And so he took us there, and we got to hang out with him at this museum, and it was really, really, really fun. But Ed was just a normal guy who just liked doing normal things. He would stop by out of the blue and just hang out, and often just to come hang out with my husband so they can go chat about collection stuff. And just this sweet, loving friend that we were friends with for the entire time up until he passed away. It was such a sad, I remember we were driving cross country, and it was New Year's, and we got a message from the costume designer who said, "Are you sitting down?" And I was like, "Yeah, we're driving. I'm sitting in a car." And she goes, Ed's not doing too well, and he's probably going to pass away soon. And I got a message from Kelly, who had gone to visit him at the hospital, and she basically kind of said goodbyes for everyone and wished him well, and said that we were thinking of him. And it was so sad knowing that was happening. And I'm glad I could be part of their life, and his kids and his wife. I'm still in contact with them, and they're just really wonderful people.
It's amazing. You could tell that the emotion was real in the revival. I mean, it was palpable. I mean, you could feel it just from the, sitting in your chair watching it. Just it leaked through. It
did. And he touched everyone. I mean, I know that he and Lauren had a good friendship. Like every single person from that show, there's not one person that would say a bad thing about him. Mm-hmm. Oh, funniest thing ever.
I thought you were going to say, oh wait, I thought someone who would say something bad.
Oh no.
I just remembered, I had an Ed memory pop in. One day I'd go, I popped into his room maybe to like set another costume change or just say hi to him or whatever. And I remember I knocked on the door and he's like, come in. So I came in, and inside his trailer was Kato Kalin.
Wow.
And I was like, this is weird. Kalin in your trailer. He wasn't shooting anything on the lot. I have no idea. But I remember sitting down and chatting with Ed and Kato Kalin one day.
That's so cool.
Just hanging out in his trailer one day. And it was just like the oddest, like you just never knew who Ed was friends with. He was friends with everybody.
I love that.
So random.
It was very random, but I'll never forget it.
I love that.
And that seems like a very him kind of thing, it just very distinguished and how do I say, well-rounded. That's awesome.
Very, very rare.
It was he was one of the people who drew me to that show in the first place.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Him and Kelly Bishop, because I loved him in Richie Rich. I think was one of the first memories I have of watching him in it. But there was a couple other things I had seen growing up that I saw him in and I loved. And Kelly Bishop was Dirty Dancing.
Of course, I talk to Kelly every once in a while. I'll send Kelly a text and say hi, and she's just she's doing her thing, but she's such a sweetheart too.
Mhm.
Yeah, both of them were so great. You were talking about the Gilmore house. How much of that was a set, or was that completely all a set, or was that actual
Okay,
a?
so the pilot, which I didn't work on, was shot in Canada, and it was shot in a practical location.
Gotcha.
So if you watch the pilot, you will see it change several times, I think, within the pilot. Because if they had to do a reshoot, if they had to add additional footage, then that was shot on the stage that they created. The very first season, that set was basically shot on, I think they shot it on stage 14. We had 2 stages the first season. We had 18 and 14. And so the Gilmore house was located in the same stage that the Independence Inn was at. Then the second season, they came back and they moved it to stage 12.
Wow.
And at that point in time, they kind of fixed any of the problems that they didn't like about the first season set. And then as seasons progressed, they would add more spaces onto the set. Like if they knew they needed another area, they would add it on. Like the kitchen, the butler's pantry, the Emily's bedroom. I guess Lauren's bedroom at one point in time was in one of the stages as well, but that one wasn't there all the time. And then I remember the pool house magically appearing one day.
That one confused me a bit.
It was like just there.
What's funny about the pool house, it was shot in the front of the house. So it was shot where the driveway was. And they put the pool where the fountain was. And so whenever they shot in the pool house, you could not see, like, you know how they'd always have those shots where they'd come to the front door and you could see the car parked there?
Yeah.
When the pool house was there, I don't believe you will see the car in the driveway ever again because the pool is there.
No.
And the pool was like this deep, like just like a little tiny thing that they had built up so that they could drop it.
I think that's one of my favorite things because it's like, when you go throughout, you see so many kind of recognizable stuff. Like we were watching an old episode of The Waltons, and like, oh, I think that's Lane's house. And then we were watching, I think, Bewitched, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure they used that on an episode of Gilmore Girls.
Have you seen Music Man?
Mm-mm.
Watch the Music Man, and the song that you're gonna do, it's River City, and it is the entire town of Stars Hollow.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I love that.
What is the name of the song you said?
I think it's when they sing River City.
River City. Okay. I'm writing it down as we speak so I don't forget.
It could be. I think that's what it is. But yeah, if you do Stars Hollow, Music Man, or something like that, it'll come up with Gazebo or Town Square, Music Man. But yeah, I mean, the show was in that location was, if you watch
Pretty Little Liars too.
Pretty Little Liars, if you watch The Nutty Professor, and it's the one that happened, I want to say, if you look at The Nutty Professor and look at the date, and it happens somewhere between seasons 2 and 5 or 6 or 7, we had to shut down early. Like we had to finish shooting earlier than normal because we weren't going to have access to the backlot anymore because they changed the entire backlot so they could shoot The Nutty Professor.
Wow. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's Nutty Professor 1 or 2. I just know it was it was the one with right? Nutty Professor? Yeah, the one where he's talking to animals. Is that it? Or
Dr. Dolittle.
Dr. Dolittle.
Maybe that's what it is.
Still Eddie Murphy.
One of those.
Dr.
It was an Eddie Murphy project. Yeah, that's it.
That's
Sorry.
something.
I get
There was-
things wrong.
Even an episode of Supernatural. I don't watch that show, but I saw the clip where
Oh, that's not
Jared
real.
Padalecki. Oh, it's not?
No, they don't go to Stars Hollow. They shoot in Canada.
Oh,
So even that's
They
faked?
fooled you. They fooled
they
you.
did. Oh
They
wow.
did it.
But did you guys see, what was it, that Marvel, the Marvel show, the one that was in black and white? It was not shot-
WandaVision.
WandaVision.
Yep.
WandaVision has a scene in Stars Hollow though.
Okay, I thought that was one. Okay, we watched WandaVision. I loved it, and they were showing a scene of like I don't know, it wasn't the town square, but it was very similar. It looked like it was off
Mhm.
the side, like you could see
Oh
over.
yeah, like
Yeah,
when they
and
were
then-
having the little fair
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, and then I
That part
guess
was in Stars Hollow, yeah.
that's awesome. Yeah, because we recognized a little bit of that, and it was kind of interesting. And I think part of the Bewitched house was supposed to be in that one as well too. Isn't that close by
They
Stars
should-
Hollow?
Did they shoot Bewitched at Warner Brothers? I didn't realize that.
I don't know.
I
But
think
you
it-
know what they did shoot is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation
Oh man.
at the ranch. And so the house that they shoot the sprinklers and the party. The sprinklers and the party was the party house with the keg,
Mhm.
whatever keg thing.
Kyle's house.
That was the National Lampoon's part, the National Lampoon Christmas Vacation house.
I
I'm
love
gonna have to
it.
go back and look at that now. I didn't know that. That's
I
cool.
love
Yeah.
it.
My
Awesome.
mind is blown by the supernatural thing where they were supposedly on the lot of Universal, and then.
But you
Jared
know
kind of
now
looked it
that
up.
I saw a photo of it. I haven't been to the lot in a while, but they tore down Miss Patty's.
What?
Aw.
Yeah, it's gone, and
Oh,
replaced it with the Friends fountain.
I don't like that.
oh
I know.
I don't like that.
no, I don't like
I
that.
love
either.
Friends, but I prefer to have Miss Patty's place there.
I'm
Yeah.
waiting for them to come back with the Christmas tour when they have, where they
Yes.
decorate everything like
Yeah,
that.
you know, they do. I have a friend of mine that runs she not runs, I'm sorry, she's a tour guide over at Warner Brothers, and she does the tours, and her name is Amanda. So if you guys go, you know what you're supposed to do is if you ever go to Warner Brothers, tell them you're a Gilmore Girl fan.
Oh, really?
Well, they'll help you if you let them know, they'll give you a little bit of advice, or at least when you're booking it, definitely
That's
try
awesome.
to let them know, because they'll make sure to give you a little bit more Gilmore Girl.
It's always better to be a Gilmore fan.
But you
Everything's
don't
better.
always, just don't be so stuck in, like, you may not get to see Stars Hollow. There might be
Mhm.
situations
that's
happening
true.
where they're filming there or they're getting ready and they don't let you walk through. So just be prepared for that. I know it's kind of sad.
That's just like visiting
their-
Disney in the rain. You're still there,
It's
close
their
enough.
fault for making Stars Hollow so great that everyone else wants to use it. So I mean,
Yeah. I mean, it's a good town. It's a very easy location to be at, because it's just, everything's there. It's a nice,
Mhm.
at 360, you can see a small town from any place you're watching.
That's
my dream
awesome.
town.
And I
Definitely.
think Amanda, you've got a game, right? We got some rapid fire questions.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
This is something Amanda created, and it is her favorite part of the interviews. Is the
it
rapid fire
is.
things.
Okay.
This is my joy, and I'm only going to do a few because we've run over our time. So it's rapid fire. I'm sure you
Yeah.
know how to play. Start out, chocolate or vanilla?
Oh, chocolate, but neither really. Like, I love chocolate. It's fine. Chocolate's good.
So do you like it mixed with something? Is what you're saying?
No,
rather than on
I
its own?
think what I mean by that was when I was a little kid, I didn't like chocolate,
That
but
was
now
me.
I do like chocolate. And now I think of, when I make ice cream, I think of vanilla as being sort of, even though vanilla can be very rich and amazing, vanilla can sort of be like the plain thing. Like, I don't make
Yeah.
vanilla ice cream unless someone's really like,
Mhm.
can't have anything else. I usually try to make something else that's a little bit more unusual or different.
Yeah.
I like the weird ice cream. We have an ice cream place kind of by us that they just have like one location, and it's firefighter owned, and I mean it's a great business, but every single week they pretty much change their menus, and they do
Oh, good.
all different types
That's
of ice
awesome.
cream, and I love it. And they'll also
Yeah.
deliver right to my door. They'll just
Well,
like order pints.
If you've never made ice cream before, you should try it, because it's really fun to be able to, like, think of some random flavor you've never thought, or something you really,
Mhm.
really love, and like taking it up a notch and just having control over that item and being able to manipulate it into something that you will never be able to buy anywhere in the store.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
the fun part about ice cream making. Okay, sorry.
No, you're
I'm a
fine.
baker, so one of my favorite cakes I ever made was a lemon lavender.
Oh, I have an ice cream like that. I have a
Oh.
lemon lavender ice cream.
Love it.
So
It's
good.
so
Those flavors
good.
just
So
Amanda
good.
makes and decorates cakes.
yes, I do.
Ooh.
My my side gig.
Side hustle.
All right. Sorry, I have so many and I'm trying to narrow it down.
We have
Okay.
like 50.
Yeah, I know. All right. Go in or go out or stay in?
Staying in more lately just because COVID,
Yeah.
I'd
I'm
rather
a more
not.
stay in person. So
But in reality, I am kind of I don't mind going out. I'm not, you're gonna see me at a club.
Yeah.
You'll see me at, if I do go somewhere, I bring ice cream.
There you go.
Love
And I
it.
surprise you with it. You don't even know it's there.
oh, okay. Jogging or hiking?
Hiking.
That'd be my pick too.
Oh yeah, I don't like running. Okay. Burgers or tacos?
Ooh. Well, that's hard because I live in the place where you can get really good
Best
both.
of both.
Yeah, we've got In-N-Out or we have really
I've
authentic.
never had In-N-Out.
You gotta have In-N-Out. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
Whataburger's better.
I haven't been to Whataburger, so I don't know. But In-N-Out, the one thing about a burger, it needs to be fresh. Like it needs to be fresh meat. You can't freeze it. And that's the one thing that In-N-Out does is they don't freeze it and it's real potatoes. So like that's what I love about it. And it's simple.
Yeah.
But you can't beat like a really good taco.
Authentic too.
I don't know. I'm not good at these answerings, like making decisions. I like it all.
All right, well then we have a follow-up for you.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you eat your tacos from the left or the right?
What do you mean left or right? Oh, like, you know
Do
what?
you tilt your head to the left or the right when you eat a taco?
Oh, okay. Probably this way.
Okay.
I tilt to the left.
Can't go right.
Amanda and I were at a convention once we started going to some conventions for our podcast, and there was a person who asked that, and we watched all the panelists mock it, and we're like, that is the most brilliant thing. So now we just ask everybody that.
That's my favorite thing to ask now.
I had never ever thought about that. So you said it.
Because
But
you have to stop
I'm
and think.
I don't know if it matters. I'm right-handed and I tilt
Yep.
to the left.
There was someone else who answered that way too for that reason.
I'm
That- my neck
right-handed and I
doesn't-
tilt to the right. Okay. 2 more. Beach or mountains?
Mountains.
Oh, okay.
Thank
Because
you.
I like to hike. I like to hike and I have and I mean I have access to the beach, but the beach is messy. I don't want to go in the
Ew.
water. I don't really have a
No.
desire because where I live, the water's cold.
Okay.
And
Mm.
usually it's kind of gross, but and I'm only gonna get up to my ankles anyways, so
Yep.
that as well.
Me too. I don't like any big bodies of water. Lakes,
I don't mind
ocean.
water. I really do like water. I just I'd rather water be in a swimming pool,
That's
Yeah.
it too.
you know,
I bet y'all
I'd
can't
rather
tell
be
which I would
filtered.
choose. Yeah.
or streams. Streams and rivers I like, standing in. So that's
If I
my
can see my feet,
then that's
I'm
okay.
good.
Oh, okay.
I'm good. If I can see
You know what?
what's
Go
down there.
to Mexico. Where the
Oh, I've
water-
been. I
if
love
the-
it.
If the water is warm, like in Cabo, because I worked on a TV show in Cabo, and the water was super warm, and that takes the cake. That was really nice.
I bet that sounds
The
very.
California beaches are so cold that
They
I'd
are.
rather be in the mountains.
All right, last rapid fire, Amanda.
Yep. All right. Pickles or olives?
This is my
Ooh, I
favorite.
love both.
We designed this
all of
specifically to
them.
frustrate you every time we asked you one of these
That is
questions.
frustrating. I mean, it's hard. I can't.
Pickles on olives.
There you go.
You can't pick them all. I have not made that ice cream either.
Oh,
That doesn't sound good.
Pickle ice cream kind of
I
does
would
sound good to
totally
me.
eat pickle ice cream.
yes, I
don't
would
think I would
totally
eat
pick
all of
olive
ice
too.
cream.
I've made a cucumber rose and gin sorbet.
Ooh,
Ooh.
It's
that
not
sounds
good.
refreshing.
It's really good. It's really, really good. I don't drink, but I will put alcohol in some of the sorbets. And I don't drink like from the standpoint of I'm just not a drunk, but
Yeah.
I don't want to drink. But I'm okay with like if it's used as a flavoring. It's
Yeah.
kind of-
Sure.
and
Yeah.
it's a really good one.
It's like a vodka red sauce. You don't drink it
And
for the
there's-
booze, it just enhances the
Yeah,
flavor.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Martini
exactly.
ice cream
All
with
about
the
the
olives.
I don't know about olives in the ice cream. That would just be weird.
Yeah, I think I could
But-
do pickle ice cream. I don't think I could do olive ice cream.
In Texas, we will drink pickle juice. Like just
Oh yeah,
like yeah.
Yeah.
we have pickle beer.
Mhm.
Have you tried it, Josh?
I have not.
Oh,
sounds
it's-
terrible.
It's really not that good. I mean, I love pickles, so I mean, just don't.
The weirdest ice cream I have in the book is dedicated to Robert, Nichols.
That makes sense.
And it is his favorite drink is tequila, lime, and adobo,
Mm,
the spice.
mhm.
And it tastes like a smoked cheese. It doesn't taste really like tequila, but I mean there is tequila in it. There's a lot of tequila in it, but it tastes like a smoked cheese because of the adobo,
Mhm.
and then
Wow.
and then with like a pucker of lime.
Ooh.
And it's really weird and wild, but just like him, it's weird and wild. And it's my ice cream a lot of times is not meant to have like a quart of it in one sitting. It's meant to have like just an enjoyable, just like a spoonful where you just get the flavor and you taste it and you're just enjoying it. And then you eat another flavor and you're like, oh, that's good. And then another flavor and like pairing it with different things, which I love flavors, which is why I'm having a hard time picking for these rapid
Give
fire.
you all of the food options too.
It would be like you saying
Perfect.
lavender or lemon, and I'd be like, both. Put them together. There's no
Put 'em
reason
together.
not to.
If I had to choose, I would choose lemon, but
Well,
lemon and
lemon's
lavender together. Oh my gosh.
Ugh.
Now I want to go make cake.
Lemon to eat, lavender to smell.
And then what other amazing flavors? There's so many. I mean, there's so many possibilities. Like, I love is just taking the random things that a friend of mine. One of the flavors in the book is prickly pear and lime sorbet. Have you ever had prickly pear before?
have.
Only as like an accent flavor in something. I don't remember what
Yeah,
it
and
was.
so you can do like different things, or passion fruit and lime. And
Mhm.
Oh, that sounds good.
there's a sorbet in the book that's dedicated to Caesar, to Eris, and it's called it's called Caesar's Mexican fruit salad.
Ooh.
And what you
Ooh.
do you guys have this? We have it here where we live. There's little fruit stands, and they have watermelon, they have watermelon, cantaloupe, pineapple, mango. Sometimes there's cucumber. Sometimes there's like coconut, and they cut them up and they put the lime and the salt and the tahini on it. Have you guys
Oh,
ever?
yeah.
I've used tahini, but I don't like melons. But we don't have the
Oh.
stands here either.
They're
I
so
love
good.
That's what she's been eating.
I literally have tahini sitting here. Because that's like what I
Oh my
sit
god,
here
it's so
and-
funny. You didn't even have to run for it. It's just right
No,
there.
I mean, it's what I've been kind of munching on. while
She's
we've
in
been
North
talking.
Texas. I'm in South Texas. It's all over.
So basically, there's a sorbet. You make 5 different sorbets. You make the watermelon. You don't have to make, like, if you don't like watermelon, you don't have to make the watermelon or the melon. But you can make the orange and the pineapple and the mango,
Mhm.
or you can even probably make cucumber and put the lime and salt and tahini on it. And then you turn that into sorbet, and then you melon ball each one of those into your
Oh.
cup, and you can have whatever like concoction of flavor. And it's just
I love
sweet,
that.
spicy and salty at the same time. And
That
it's
sounds like a good
really
idea.
good.
I like that.
Yeah.
Because I like putting tahini just like on my watermelon. So
Yes, it's
That would be
so
good.
especially with the lime. You have to have the lime in there, but the
Yes.
tahini has lime in it too, but
Yeah.
not enough. It needs
no, I
more.
could use more.
More.
All right. Well, we only have one more question for you, and then we can let you go. So, and it's the one question we ask everybody at the very end is, do you have anything coming up you want to share? Do you want to let everybody know your social handles so they know where to go and find you, follow you, all that?
So my social handle is Valerie's, Valeries, and then it's all one word. Cat, like your kitty cat. I like your eyeball, and scream like you're screaming for your life. And I'm across all social media with that, except for Facebook. I'm Valerie's Ice Cream Shop. But if you type in Valerie's Cat Ice Cream as one word with the hashtag, you'll find me. And recently, so I mentioned the book, but basically I wrote an ice cream cookbook, all because of Gilmore Girls. And there are there's a good portion of the stories and recipes are dedicated to my Gilmore Girl fans and friends that I've met throughout the years. Stories that you'd love to, some of them I've kind of sort of touched on. But it's all art, it's all illustration, and they're all real recipes, and you don't have to want to cook to enjoy it because it's all art. It's really fun. And if you check out my TikToks and you scroll down, you'll see some of the recipes in there. And that's what I've been doing, is just doing that. And I still work, but I work in order to enjoy life. And the book is something that I really get to enjoy and share with everyone that's out there.
Where can we get the book from?
So the best way to get it is to visit my website, which is Valerie's Cat Ice Cream. And you can purchase 2 different versions. One is the book straight up, just normal. I'll sign it and I'll send it to you. Or if you pay a little extra, I will do a half-hour session where I hang out with you online and I draw on your book, whatever you want me to draw. And
that's awesome.
It's a fun experience. So cool. Because especially the Gilmore Girl fans, they're always like, oh, my favorite moment is the other day I did one, which was what she conquers, what she tackles, she conquers. Wait, what is it? How is the line? But I did that moment with Ed. I drew a picture of Ed with that moment. I did, I'm trying to remember what else, but I'll do anything. I'll draw anything that you want me to draw in your book. Usually my style of art is whimsical and not completely realistic. It's not totally, but I've been practicing by every single time we watch an episode. I draw live on TikTok. I'll draw a moment. And some of my TikToks, I will share the scene that we drew, and I'll give some fun facts, and then I'll flash the little piece of art that I drew for that particular scene. And that's sort of what I've been drawing on the book. It's just quick. It's nothing fancy, but it's fun.
So for your TikToks, that's something you're currently doing, is watching through Gilmore Girls.
Been watching through Gilmore Girls and answering people's questions randomly. Like a lot of times, I am not spoiled by watching. Like if someone asked me to watch a moment from a scene in the future that I haven't watched, I'll do it very quickly, but I'm not trying to watch the whole episode because I'm trying to experience it for what it is, like how you guys experienced it 20 years ago, watching it one episode at a time. And it's been nice because we've only been watching one episode each week.
Okay.
And sometimes we'll miss a week because something will happen in my schedule. But it's been fun. What I've noticed the most that's been interesting is the music. The music and things that don't happen when we were shooting it, like Alex Borstein's voice on the answering machine for Brooke's mom, or the lawyer or whatever it was. And I was like, oh my God, that's Alex. That's totally Alex. I read that, I hear that. And so, or the detective music where Lorelai is like snooping around, or someone's snooping around, and I'm like, whoa, I've never heard this music before. So those are kind of interesting because you guys grew up listening and watching and hearing that, and I'm just experiencing that for the very first time because we didn't have some orchestra playing while they were shooting the scene. And there's no hint that they're going to use that kind of music during the background. So that's been fun. So what happens is everybody votes on what moment and the way you vote is someone suggests a question and then everybody likes the question that I should, and that's the moment that we
How cool.
Is it a moment from that episode you're gonna watch?
Yeah, it's
okay.
Yeah, they don't do it at the beginning, they do it at the very end. So after I've watched it. This is at the door. And then this is a paper cut when Kirk is going through the mail.
Oh, yep. Drops some doses.
This one's kind of a personal, the ice cream queen.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Love that.
Don't ask me to get really good close-ups of people's faces because I'm still getting better at that. But But this one's like a close-up face, and it's
Oh,
okay, Taylor.
But
I
But
love
this is
all of
kind of
them.
what I'm drawing on the books is, you pay the little extra, you get to hang out with me for like 30 minutes. It's usually about 45, but I say 30 minutes so your expectations of the drawing aren't like amazing. This is this is the frog boy dancing on the table at Lou. It's been a lot of fun doing these because and I only started drawing what I was doing was I was doing the drawings digitally in the first before the book came, and then the book paper came, and I was like, let's try practicing on the book paper. And I've really been having fun with that because it's like physical, and
Mhm.
I can't do anything with these. They're just sitting there like randomly. I don't even know what I'm doing with them. Maybe one day I'll raffle them off or something, do them for like a charity or something.
Be
But
fun.
they're just fun.
Yeah.
publish
Even
them.
putting them
That'd be
together,
so
even
cool.
binding them just to have them around your house to bring out and look at nostalgically of.
Problem with that is that you get Warner Brothers involved. I'm not trying to make money off Warner Brothers.
Yeah. It's true.
Gotta be careful with that.
True.
Well, they just got bought out or whatever it is too, right? I guess.
Discovery, yeah. Let's
Discovery.
hope that makes good changes and that they don't do anything bad with I hear that it's leaving Netflix though.
Is it really?
2023, it's leaving Netflix. So
Well, I've purchased it on iTunes, and I think we have a DVD copy
I
here.
mean, I have all 7 of the DVDs,
Yes.
all 7 seasons, but my daughter, every time we get a new DVD player, she jams 2 DVDs in at a time and she keeps breaking
Oh,
it. So I just
no.
watch it on
how old
Netflix.
is your daughter?
She's 4 now.
Oh, okay. Put them a little higher.
You think I would learn after the first 2 broke, but I
Put them
didn't.
somewhere else.
Well, thank you so much, Valerie, for coming on with us. This was one of my favorite interviews we've done yet. You had so much information.
Aw.
It was fun to talk to you. We were saying it was hard to want to end it or to need to end it because we have a lot of things to talk about. So
Yeah.
thank you for coming on. And don't forget, you guys can check out our Facebook group of Gilmore Girls, Gilmore Family Fan Club. And then you can find us on all of our social medias and through our email. So on that note, we'll see you soon.
Thank you for having me.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Loving our content? Subscribe to our YouTube channel and don't forget to share our podcast with your family and friends. We want to continue the conversation with you. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok under Fandom Family Chats, or one of our ever-growing Facebook groups by searching Family Fan Club. We've also launched a website, Family Fan Club 2021 at wixsite.com. You can email us there and keep checking it for announcements and merch coming soon. And of course, be sure to tune in every week for new episodes discussing all your favorite shows.